Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and much appreciated you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me. Got a good one for y'all today if you like to fish jerkbaits. I'm going to talk to you about my vibrating technique, about manipulating the jerkbait to generate strikes. This is a technique that I developed over fishing here in the Ozarks for over 45 years jerkbait fishing, so I'm going to share that with you guys today in the episode. Also, guys, a couple quick housekeeping tips. Just wanted to remind you about the Cyber Monday sale, Solarbat on my RB2 and RB3 series sunglasses. You can get a pair right now, anything on the website, including my glasses, 50% off during the month. So I'll put my Solarbat link in the description of the video. And also, if you're looking for some good places to fish a jerkbait this winter, I'll put my Fish the Moment Lake Map Breakdown link in the description. This is a real good resource to find some good spots on your favorite lake. So links in the description on that. Really appreciate that. Okay, we're doing a lot of stuff on jerkbaits right now. We're getting into the prime season. December, January, and February are the best jerkbait months of the year. So, as you know on the channel here, that's my favorite technique, so we're going to be talking about it a lot. And the thing that I talk a lot about jerkbait fishing and why I do a lot of videos on it is, if you've heard me talk before, it is the most complicated technique in bass fishing. There are more variables surrounding jerkbait fishing in terms of colors and profiles and actions and the gear you throw it on and the areas than any other technique. It's a complicated technique. It's the funnest technique. I consider it one of the top 3 funnest ways to catch bass that there are, but it's something that requires a lot of discipline and learning and commitment to get really good at it. So one of the things that you're going to find out about in jerkbait fishing is what I call the techniques that generate strikes, because a jerkbait will attract a lot of fish. It pulls in a lot of fish to the lure because it's pretty much a cleaner water technique. But like a lot of lures that you pull the bass into to investigate, it's the challenge to get them to actually strike the bait and eat the bait. Now with the jerkbait, a lot of the things that actually trigger a strike are things like the color, the profile of your bait, and especially the retrieve, the action you put on the bait. So we're going to get into the vibrating technique today. Also, guys, before we get into it, the best wintertime jerkbait, in my opinion, is a small jerkbait. This is my favorite. This is the Megabass Nanahan, the Nanahan +1 and the +2. Comes in 2 different lip sizes here. This is about a 3-inch long jerkbait. This is the one I use probably 80% of the time in the wintertime. I'll link this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you'd like to pick up a couple of them, but it'll get you more bites than any other jerkbait out there. If you're throwing a full-size jerkbait in the dead of the wintertime, you're gonna not catch near as many fish as by going to a finesse version like the Nanahan here, so I'll put the link in the description. Okay, now regardless of the type of jerkbait you're fishing, in cold water, when you're talking about when the water temperatures bottom out to within 5 degrees of their lowest points. Now that depends on what part of the country you're in. If you fish down in Texas, your lowest water temperature may be down in the low 50s. If you're in my part of the country, half of our lakes will freeze, half of the lake will freeze, half will stay open sometimes. So we're dealing with water temperatures down to 40 degrees sometimes. But regardless, wherever you live at, once your water temperatures start to get within 5 degrees of their coldest point, this vibrating technique that I'm talking about is going to be the technique that you want to use. Now, this is what it looks like on the bait, and I'll show you how to do it on the rod. It's like when you jerk your jerkbait down and you get it down to the deepest point here, this is going to be, you're going to hear me talk about this a lot. This is the sweet spot. The deepest point of your jerkbait in the wintertime is where you're going to catch 95% of your better fish. It's like the odds that when your bait is going down or when it's going up like that, the odds of you catching a fish, period, especially good fish, are minuscule compared to when you're maximum out at the bottom of the sweet spot, which is the deepest part of the bait. This is where your high percentage strike area is. Now, most people, when they're fishing a jerkbait, they do the jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause. This is kindergarten level. Guys, if you are relegated to just using a jerk, jerk, pause with your jerkbait, you're catching a fraction of the fish that you can without, learning other type of retrieve. So the vibration retrieve that I'm gonna show you how to do here is when you get this bait down to its deepest point, You're trying to keep it in one spot as long as you can without having it just completely stop. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to vibrate this thing like this into one spot and just basically just barely pull it across, barely moving it in one spot like that. And in cold water, when those fish, when they hear this jerkbait coming down and they come over to investigate it and they see this thing just vibrating along like this in cold water, that's sort of what a minnow does. A minnow moves very slowly and it doesn't dart erratically. In the wintertime, it just sort of sits there and moves like that. That bass will steady it a little bit like that. And a lot of times they just can't resist it and they'll just come up and get it. So how you want to do it is make your cast out there with a spinning rod. Now this is another thing, guys, especially with a nanahan. Don't even consider throwing it on a bait caster. Go with a spinning rod. This is my Megabass Whip Snake model Avante 3000 series spinning reel. I always use 4 to 6 pound test Seagarn VizX line. 4 pound test if it's open water, 6 pound test if I got some rock or some cover around me, but never over 6, always 4 to 6. So make your cast out there, you know, reel it down or jerk it down, you know, 8 or 10 times. And it's, okay, let's say now it's in its deepest part. We jerked it down and you feel that the jerkbait is at its deepest point. Now, once it's at its deepest point, what you want to do is just shake the rod tip like that. Just see how my hand's just moving? Just vibrate it in one spot without moving the handle. So vibrating, and then I'll slowly crank the reel, maybe 2 or 3 cranks, vibrate it without moving the handle, and then slowly crank it and just vibrate like that. And after about maybe 2 or 3 times of doing that, and you're actually, you know, by the time you crank it a couple times and vibrate it, your bait's probably moved that much. After you move that bait, say 4 to 5 feet at its deepest point, then pop it like that real hard. Just not real hard, but just snap it like that. So what you have is when that bait is down like this and you're vibrating it like that, most of the time they're gonna hit it when you're vibrating it. But you vibrate it, and then you snap it like that. And a lot of times, snapping it like that, even in cold water, will create a reaction strike, and those fish will get it after you snap it. I'm gonna guess probably 80% of the time, the bite is going to occur when you're vibrating it, and about 20% is when you snap it like that. But the thing about it, guys, is you have to do this, like I said, with a spinning reel. If you try to use a bait caster and do it, you're not gonna have the feel. Plus you can't use 4 to 6 pound test line on a bait caster. But just get used to doing this, guys. Just twitching it, just vibrate it in one spot. Try to get that rod tip just going, just vibrate it just like that in one spot. And it's a subtle movement. It's like when you're doing that on a slack line, it's just barely moving. It's not doing much at all. And that's one of the things that I have found that triggers those cold water fish to really bite good. So anyway, guys, I'll put all the links in the description if you guys want to get set up with all this, and we'll check in later. See ya.